Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 10 in the National Football League. And this was the game I was waiting for. This was my main event. I can't speak for anybody else. Some people, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints game was your main event. Maybe another game's Ravens and Bengals, or maybe it was Broncos, Chargers. I don't know what your cup of tea is. But for me, nothing tickles my fancy like a good old-fashioned slobber knocker. Two teams that are just physically going to beat the hell out of one another. And I just want to sit down, get my popcorn, and watch it unfold. And that's exactly what we got. A physical football game between two physically imposing teams. The red-hot San Francisco 49ers coming in winners of 5 straight games versus the Carolina Panthers. They're hot in their own right, winners of 4 consecutive games. And each team over the life of their winning streak scoring up over 30 points against their opponents. And it just seems like this had all the makings of a heavyweight championship title fight, and I couldn't wait to watch. And the knock on the Panthers coming into this game was, hey, you got a 4-game winning streak, but who'd you beat? And you know my motto. I don't care who they put in front of you. Just beat them. You can't control that you have to play the 0-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. You got to play the 0-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or you got to play the 1-6 New York Giants. You can't help that you got to play the 0-6 Minnesota Vikings. That's not your problem, okay? All you can do is knock down the teams as they line them up in front of you. And so I'm not mad at the Panthers for beating bad football teams. That's what good football teams do to bad football teams. You beat them up. You dispose of them. And the thing that made me the most proud of the Panthers, like a proud papa, was the fact that they were not only beating these bad teams, they were destroying them. They were killing their confidence. That's what you do to bad teams. You don't give them hope. You don't give them an opportunity to feel like they're going to win the game. You come out, you smack them in the mouth, and you tell them to sit down and shut up. And that's what they did 4 consecutive weeks in a row. As for the 49ers, they looked like the same team from last year that was physically imposing, that was running the football. They got back to their roots. They got off to a little bit of a slow start this season because they got away from what works. They had this outburst from Colin Kaepernick in week 1 versus Green Bay, and it got good to them. They got a little bit of a taste of a passing game. He threw for over 400 yards, and they lost sight of what was San Francisco 49ers football. That's run the football with Frank Gore, play defense, and we'll sort the mess out after we're done. Okay? Let's run the football, run guys over, run teams over, steamroll teams with the run game, beat them up defensively, and then we'll sort the mess out after the game is done. We'll let the ambulance sort those guys out, and we'll sort through the wreckage and come out with the W. They lost sight of that, so in losing sight of that, you had to lose 3 games in a row. But after that struggle, after they had that come to Jesus moment, so to speak, they reeled off 5 consecutive victories, and they did it the conventional way, the 49ers way, which sees them running the football, playing aggressive defense, forcing turnovers, turning those turnovers into points. So here we go. The matchup of week number 10, the one I couldn't wait for. Let's get to the board and break this down through the eyes of me, Louie T. So 5-3 Carolina Panthers taking on the 6-2 San Francisco 49ers. Niners moved the ball down the field on first possession via the ground. Gores, he's so patient. He's so patient. One run, he had a blocker in front of him, and he just kind of danced behind the blocker, and he waited until the perfect moment to discard the blocker and get to the outside. That's vintage Frank Gore right there. I mean, that's why he's one of the best backs in the league. It's his patience and then the burst after the patience. So That leads to a field goal. San Francisco jumps out on top 3-0. Now, on that very drive, though, even though the 49ers got 3 points and they took the lead, Captain almost had a pick. Captain Munnerlyn should have had a pick on that possession. And that's what makes this Carolina Panthers team so dangerous. Look, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They're the second best defense in the league, okay? Give me the Chiefs defense first, but not too far after. They're not an afterthought. Give me this Panthers defense, okay? Because they're second in points allowed. They're second in run defense. They're second in everything because they're the second best defense in the league. Give me this defense right after the Chiefs. And again, not that far after the Chiefs, but give me this Panthers defense. They play ball. And Captain Munnerlyn had a chance to change the game early. He dropped a pick. It's okay. It happens. But that goes to show you that this defense is not that far away from making plays. They're always right there in a position to make a play. So it's 3-0 San Francisco early on in the football game. Partially blocked punt by Carolina. But stay away from the ball. But again, this one was partially blocked. So it's hard for guys to get away from the football. It bounces up. It caroms off of a Carolina Panther football player. So it's prematurely touched by the Panthers and recovered by the 49ers. That leads to new life. They get a new possession, new set of downs, and it leads to another field goal by Phil the Boot. It's 6-0 San Francisco. So I'm getting a little worried because even though that it's only 6-0, Panthers haven't responded yet. 49ers jumping out to a lead. They're exerting their will. Frank Gore is having success on the ground. Kaepernick is struggling, but Gore is running the football. They look like they're going to be dominant in this game just a little bit, not by much. They don't look like they're dominating the football game because, again, they're getting field goals. And what's the motto? Remember, you know the motto. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs or the Carolina Panthers. So, both QBs under siege early. Both erratic because of it. Running is scarce as well. So, here we are. Two of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. Two of the most, physically imposing quarterbacks in the league. 6'4" Kaepernick, about 235 pounds. 6'5" Cam Newton, about 245 pounds. Both can run like deers. Both can throw the football with extreme velocity and accuracy. Yet, in this game, both were under pressure by the opposing team's defense. And so both were uncomfortable. Both had no running room. Both weren't accurate with their throws. Both were struggling in this football game. That's what a good defense will do to you, though. Every single time. They'll force the issue. They'll make you uncomfortable. They'll get you off your spot. They'll make you erratic. That's what both of these quarterbacks were early in this football game. Tremaine Brock, interception and a long return sets up first down from the Carolina 11, and they still only can muster another field goal. It's 9-0. So if you are the Panthers, you look at that as a win. Cam goes out and turns it over. Tremaine Brock makes another play, and he's been playing some dynamic football for the San Francisco 49ers. My goodness. Tremaine Brock has been a standout at the cornerback position for them. Picks off another pass, almost took it the distance. They ran him down at the 11, and they can only muster a field goal. So if you're the Panthers, that's a win for you. You give it up inside the red zone, and they only come away with another field goal. You know the motto. So it's 9-0. Even though you've been thoroughly dominated to this point, if you're Carolina, they only got 9 points to show for it. It's a 2-possession game. You get one touchdown, and you're a field goal away from taking the lead. So that's how you stay in this game. Defensively, you get it done until the offense wakes up and helps you out. And so here we go with this Panthers defense doing it again after a Navarro Bowman tip, pass, and a potential pick. It lands in the hands of Greg Olsen to the Niners 27, and D'Angelo Williams scampers for 27 yards for a touchdown. Just like that. Boom! It's 9-7, and you're a field goal away from taking the lead in this game. Even though the 49ers have scored 3 times, even though it seems like they've dominated the first half, guess what? You're only down by 2 after a touchdown. That's what touchdowns do versus field goals. And so you're ready this football game. And what have I said about D'Angelo Williams? This goes back to last year. Put the man in the game. He makes big plays. He's either going to make a big play or he's going to make a boo-boo. But you know that something is going to happen when D'Angelo Williams is in the game. And in this case, you got a 27-yard run for a touchdown that cuts this lead to a 2-point game and puts you square back in control of this football game if you are the Carolina Panthers. So now we move and fast forward to the second half. It's 9-7 at the half of this game. 2 drops in the first drive of the second half for the Carolina Panthers. Ted Ginn Jr. drops a pass, so does Steve Smith. So Cam Newton's starting to settle in, but his teammates aren't helping him by dropping the football. Guys have got to step up. After a 13-yard gain on 3rd and 15 by Steve Smith to get the Panthers back into field goal range, Graham Gano misses from 48. And look, Graham Gano not going to miss many kicks for this Carolina Panthers football team. In fact, that was his first miss of the season. So he's not a guy that's going to miss a lot of field goals. And again, like I said, for a lot of these games in these stadiums across the country, a lot of windiness. I don't know if it was that windy in San Francisco or not. I don't recall the wind being that big of a factor in this game like it was in the Midwest and in the East Coast. But nonetheless, Graham Gano misses from 48. It's a rare occurrence, but it happened. You're still down in this football game, 9-7, but it feels good to know you can drive the football down, get in the field goal range, and potentially take the lead in this game if you can continue to play the type of defense that has kept you in this ball game to this point. So Thomas Davis smashes Kendall Hunter, forcing a huge fumble in the game late in the third quarter when the 49ers were threatening to put points up on the board. This was the game-changing play of the game. And it's funny because a lot of people are sleeping on the Panthers. And this hit woke everybody up. And, you know, the 49ers do a lot of talking. You got Dante Whitner and a couple of guys out there running their mouth, doing a lot of popping. Well, they were doing the popping. Guess who was doing the dropping in this game? The Panthers were doing the popping, and the 49ers were doing the dropping. Vernon Davis, concussion, going out of the game. I told Mr. Reed, I said, look, man, hey, bowling ball is a handful. Watch where you put your head at. This young man has a head made out of concrete. I wouldn't advise you to do that. He lowered the head, and bowling ball lowered the shoulder. Night for Mr. Reed. Anybody got a pillow for that young fella? He's over there drooling. So, I mean, the Panthers were just more physical. This play right here, to me, epitomizes how physical. Let's get physical. The Panthers were in this game. Thomas Davis meets Kendall Hunter in the hole, and boom! Guess who stepped in the room? To Kyle. The ball is on the ground. Panthers recover, and that was a huge play in this game because that took points off the scoreboard for the San Francisco 49ers. It stopped their drive dead in its tracks. And again, they were looking to score points. And in a game like this, where points come at a premium, you can't afford to give up the football when you've got an opportunity to put something on the board. Whether it's a 7 or a 3, you got to take it when you can get it, when it's going to be a defensive struggle like this. That was a huge play in this game. So, back-to-back big blunders by the 49ers. A drop by Vance McDonald. Hey, look, young fella, no Vernon Davis after the concussion. You got to step up, my man. And this was the play. This was your chance to endear yourself to 49ers fans everywhere. Kaepernick throws his best ball of the game. You can't get a better ball than this. You know, this was his best ball right here, by far. Over the middle, drops it in a bucket. He couldn't have breastfed you any better than this. He couldn't have breastfed you any better than this. Right in your hands, and you drop the football. Can't happen. Not in a game of this magnitude. Got to have it, and you dropped it. Huge play. That was points. I mean, who knows? If you catch that football, you might break the tackle and score a touchdown. If you don't break a tackle, let's say that they bogged down in the red zone again, you get a field goal, now you got 12. Now the Panthers have to score 2 field goals or a touchdown to beat you in this football game. So that was a huge drop. The next blunder, Anquan Bolden's pass interference on a 14.5-yard gain on 3rd and 15. They throw a pass to Mario Manningham. He picks up 14.5 yards, about a half yard short of the first down. And he's blocking too soon down the field. They call offensive pass interference. Bring it back. And so then the 49ers eventually have to punt. Another huge play because If I'm Jim Harbaugh at that point, I'm thinking about possibly going for it. It's inches. If I can't pick up inches, and this is another one of my sayings, if I can't pick up inches, if I can't pick up a yard on fourth down, I'm not supposed to win the game. If I can't pick up inches with a 6'4" quarterback and a running back like Frank Gore and a fullback like Dixon, if I can't find a way to scheme something up, whether it's quarterback sneak, fullback dive, or a handoff to Frank Gore, some kind of power, if I can't pick up a yard, half of a yard, inches, I don't need to win the game. And so if I'm Harbaugh, I got to think about going for it at that point. But guess what? Never came to that because of the pass interference. So two big blunders back-to-back for the 49ers forces them to have to punt the football. Ted Ginn Jr.'s long punt return sets up Graham Gano for a 53-yard field goal, and he drills it to put Carolina up 10-9 in this football game. Let me talk about Ted Ginn Jr. for a second. He returned to San Francisco in this game, the place where he last played, and they discarded him, and they pushed him off to the side like yesterday's garbage. And so this was his chance to show them this is what the game is missing right here. You're missing Ted Ginn Jr. And he went out and he put on a show on punt returns. He had 3 returns, averaging 21 yards per return, none bigger than this 25-yarder late in the fourth quarter to put them in field goal range to knock home the game-winning field goal. Ted Ginn Jr. flipped the field position on numerous occasions in this game. And again, I stand corrected because I told Carolina Panthers fans earlier in the season that Ted Ginn Jr. wasn't going to make a difference on this team, maybe other than special teams. Well, he's caught the football, he's blocked extremely well, and he's giving you a lift on special teams. Ted Ginn Jr. is getting it done for the Carolina Panthers, and he came up huge in this game against his ex-mates in San Francisco. So now the Panthers are up 10-9 in this football game. 2 fumbles stopped the Panthers from icing the game. And look, I was a little disappointed with Carolina at the end because I wanted them to salt this game away. I wanted them to run this clock out, force the 49ers to use their timeouts, and not give them back the ball. I wanted them to be able to take knees at the end of this game without the 49ers having the football back with a chance to take the lead, because that's what good teams do. You get the football, you run your 4-minute offense, you don't give it back to the opposing team, you win the football game, you end up taking knees. And they gave Cam Newton the football when they said, Cam, I need you to throw a dart to Steve Smith and pick up a first down. What did Cam do? Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Nope, it's number 1. And Cam is his name. Super Cam! He throws a dart to Steve Smith. First down, move the sticks. 49ers have to use their timeouts. But, you stick Jonathan Stewart in the game. And I know, Jonathan is just getting back in the groove, but you can't put it on the ground, young fella. You can't put it on the ground. That's a no-no. Not in a game like this. Not at the end of the game when we need to put this one away. Can't put it on the ground. You're lucky bowling ball was around to save the day. The 49ers should have recovered that fumble. You got away with one. And if they recover that fumble, they're right around midfield. They're right around the door. Knocking on the door, field goal range. You probably lose the football game. So you got bailed out. So right there, I'm a little wary of Jonathan Stewart because he put the ball on the ground. Then you have a bad snap. Cam has to go dive on it. Now you got to punt the football. So 2 fumbles in the span of about 3 plays puts you in a position where you got to punt the football back to the San Francisco 49ers. A little disappointed there because I did not want you to give them the football back. Good teams put it away right there, and they don't see the football again. But this is the Carolina Panthers defense. We talk, man, I love this defense. So you punt the football, don't worry about it. Because you got this Panthers defense out there on the field to secure this game and put it away. You punt the football, and you punt, and look, Brad Nortman was money in this game. So was Andy Lee, but Brad Nortman pinned them deep when he had to. They start this drive at about their own 7-yard line or so. Kaepernick, never comfortable in this game, and you put pressure on him. You force him to throw into quadruple coverage. It's about 4 Panthers over there, and it was 2 receivers for the 49ers in the same area. Somebody ran the wrong route. Either way, Drayton Florence picks it off. Game, set, match. Panthers get it done on the road. For all of you out there that are looking for a signature win, there you go. Here's your signature win. Take it and run with it. Panthers go into San Francisco and snap the 5-game winning streak. of the San Francisco 49ers. It's a hell of a ball game. 49ers gave it a valiant effort. Kaepernick threw for less than 100 yards in this game. They sacked him 6 times, did the Panthers defensive front. And so 91 yards, 50% completion percentage, 11 for 22, not going to get it done. You look at it from Cam Newton and the Panthers' offensive output standpoint. Look, Cam wasn't that much better. 16 to 32, that's a 50% completion percentage right there. But he did have over 150 yards passing. So he did do a little something against this stingy San Francisco 49ers defense. You were able to get a little bit out of the run game with D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart and Tolbert all combined. But of the 3 backs, Williams did the most damage. Of course, that 27-yard touchdown run was a big help. And Gore, 16 carries, 82 yards. You got to run the football more if you are San Francisco. Gore had a very good game, especially in the first half. Thought you got away from the run game just a tad bit, and it cost you. Would have helped if Vernon Davis would have stayed healthy, but again, as physical as this game was, Panthers were doing the popping, 49ers were doing the dropping, and Panthers come away with a huge 10-9 victory. I love it. I love it. So now the Panthers are 6-3, and they must be respected in the NFC. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of these two teams against each other. I think that is something that we might see again down the road, and I would pay money to see that once again. So 49ers drop to 6-3, and with the Seahawks playing as good as they are, now there's probably little to no room for error. You got to beat them in San Francisco later on in the season. You're going to need someone to help you out and beat Seattle so you can try to climb back into that divisional race. But that was a tough loss if you are the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams leave this game at 6-3, but both of these teams are going to make the postseason. Both of these teams are really good football teams. So that's going to do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down week number 10 in the National Football League. Got many more to break down, so don't go anywhere.